Yeah, I think one of the problem which I have the great interest in is
Yeah.
something about lone wolf operation.
Oh, lone wolf.
So
Yeah.
that is, this is something which how can our Indonesian authorities try to avoid this kind of terrorist attack? In which way is very effective for you? Just please introduce to our Chinese friends.
Yeah. So lone wolf terrorism in Indonesia is expressed by individuals who became radicalized by themselves. They are not radicalized by a cleric. They are not radicalized by a Muslim leader, but they radicalize themselves by consuming information that they encounter on WhatsApp group, Telegram, or the internet. Yeah, they are in a lone wolf who conduct terrorist attacks are actually quite limited. They can be former returnees from fighters from Syria who are indoctrinated to conduct attack as soon as they return to their homeland. But they can also be directed by somebody from Indonesian cell in Syria. The lone wolf can also conduct other activities other than attacks. So, so they can do fundraising. They can also translate jihadist doctrines.
Yeah, sorry, Abdullah. So it is very hard just to do some intelligence work on them. Just how can we just gather some intelligence on the, what do we say, lone wolf terrorists? So it's very hard. You know, you mentioned something that some terrorists are guided by terrorists from Indonesia in Syria. I mean, used to jihad fighters. But if we want to try to reduce or even later try to eliminate something like lone wolf terrorist attack, do you think we have any effective, sufficient way to do that, or we have to wait and see? Please, I'm sorry. It's a little bit hard question. Sorry.
Yeah, it is a very hard question. I think that the government at the moment, what I can say is that government, the Indonesian government is controlling the cyberspace strongly. Also, transfer of money from abroad using any sort of wire transfer is also controlled, but I don't think it's sufficient. I think that the impediment for lone wolf attacks in Indonesia is more about the capability of the groups to conduct attacks. So lone wolf terrorists are not very professional. They cannot achieve what organizations can achieve by themselves. So, I mean, that's the only impediment for them to conduct attacks. In order for the government to effectively respond better to lone wolf, is actually to control the family members of the extremists and convicted terrorists.
Yeah, so, that's very interesting. Yeah, you know, I really just heard some news. There's a family terrorist group in Indonesia. let me see, about 5 or 6 family members altogether, father, mother, and children, and 2 are a little bit elder, and 2 are a little bit younger, all together 6 people. So they form a so-called the family terrorist group. So is it still happening in Indonesia, or just is what do we say, occasional cases or something like that? Or the independent cases?
The emergence of phenomenon where family members are recruited can be logically explained by the weakening of terrorist network in Indonesia. So, so terrorist members can no longer trust anyone outside their own circle of trust. So, and the best circle of trust is family. So, recruiting family members have been increasingly chosen as a method of organizing cells amidst the weakened terrorist jihadist network. And I think this kind of modus operandi is simply to avoid betrayals from members that they cannot trust.
I totally agree with your assessment. Another question which are very interesting, which you mentioned at the beginning, that you have been you have visited Xinjiang Uyghurs Autonomous Regions of China. And you'd like to just do the comparison between our Chinese de-radicalization movement and also the one in Indonesia. Let's say, because we know that what do we say, that is occasion training group and school, or some people just try to train the people who have the radical ideas, train them to develop their skills, and in the future they may find a very decent job in the society. And can you do some comparison in Indonesia? Because this is the question 1. The question 2 I will ask later. So just do the comparison between the 2 education training center for de-radicalization of the 2 countries. Thank you, Abdullah.
Thank you, sir. So there is, if I compare Indonesia and China, in China I saw this center for de-radicalization. Indonesia does not have that kind of center yet. I'm not sure about our government's plan. Is it going to be established anytime soon? I think centers of de-radicalization is still mostly prisons in Indonesia, and I saw in China, I saw extensive training for what do you call that, inmates or individuals to become tourist guides, to be skillful in sewing machines, but Indonesia does not have that. Indonesian program of de-radicalization in terms of providing skills is still limited to providing small amounts of money for them to as a seed money to start business. I think there has been some skill training, upskilling program to become chef or something, but it is not nationally driven. It is not structured by a national policy. At the moment, I think a de-radicalization program in Indonesia is still concentrated on providing surveillance for former recidivists, former convicted terrorists. So those who already finished their sentences will be will undergo review by the BNPT, the National Counterterrorism Body, the BNPT, and Detachment 88, and also the parole body, parole body. So these, yeah.
So, Excellency, Mr. Abdullah,
Yeah.
maybe so no. I think
Yeah.
what I understand is there's large differences between Indonesia's re-education and China's re-education. What do we say? Implement the measures. For China, we just do educate some of the people who receive, who absorb the radical ideas, who may even involved in certain kind of operation, and try to make them to be the new one, new people for the society, for the mainstream of the society. For Indonesia, I understand that it's mostly worked in prison. That is to say, one just arrest some people, just let them in the prison, use the prison's measure to try to reform them, no matter whether successful or not. Actually, your idea is it's very hard to say whether that way in Indonesia is successful or not. But you confirm that the Chinese way is better, slightly better than the way in Indonesia for de-radicalization. Am I right?
Yes, you're right. I think because it's difficult to measure success, but at the end of the day, if you can make the former terrorists, former combatants become productive in the society, isn't that better? So I think because here's the thing about de-radicalization programs. The de-radicalization programs have to give alternative life to former terrorists. They have to be sidelined. They have to be, they have to turn away from radical network. And this is what is very challenging. Former terrorists who are released from prison, they have to start life somewhere. And, it's already hard for former convicts to get a job, a decent job, let alone former terrorist convicts. So who wants to hire terrorist convicts? Nobody. And everybody in a society, they have fear towards terrorist convicts. So when they cannot go anywhere, they will return to their networks. They will return to their fellow combatants. Because these networks provide them with recognition, with life. This is unavoidable. They can even raise funds for this person and his or her family. Now, so any kind of de-radicalization and rehabilitation program must substitute the role of radical networks in providing life for former combatants. And that's why I said in China, the government is capable to provide life, an alternative life for former combatants. If we can do something like that, I think it's good. We just have to, present this as a solution to the society, because there will be criticisms in terms of whether this is something undemocratic or violating human rights, violating freedom to choose. So I think the government has to be transparent towards the people about monitoring and evaluation of the program, what it has achieved, or and what it can do to be better. But the principal point is that uh, the role of radical network, yeah, in providing livelihood for combatants must be replaced. So at the moment, they're still relevant. Yeah.